after more than 13 hours over 4 days, Melody Farris was found guilty of murdering her husband, Gary, and putting his body on the backyard burn pile.
We, the jury, as the count 5, we find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, as to count 4, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, as to count 3, we find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, as to count 2, find the defendant guilty. And we, the jury, as to count 1, find the defendant guilty.
Both Scott and Chris Ferris broke down as that verdict was read. And Melody Farris's attorney, as we know, pointed the finger at Scott, claiming that he was the real killer. Melody Farris is looking at life behind bars now. Her sentencing set to happen in December, most likely. And this morning, we have a very special guest we're so pleased to welcome here on Opening Statements. One of the jurors who heard the burn pile murder trial, juror Bethany. Bethany, good morning to you. Thank you for coming here today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with what influenced you the most hearing this case?
For me personally, it was just the overwhelming, in my opinion, evidence that she was there during the opportune times for the murder and the cleanup, and that even though Scott had presence on the property during, you know, those like between 12 and 6 a.m., it didn't seem like there was any kind of an opportunity. It didn't seem like there was any kind of a motive. So just all those things. For me personally, it was just kind of like that logical conclusion of if nobody else is here to do it, then who did? And then you add in all the other stuff, and that just supported. For me personally, I wasn't quite there until over the weekend. I took over the weekend, and when I came in on Monday, I felt very at peace about what I thought had happened.
Was there ever a moment that you would say was pivotal? Was there ever kind of something with the evidence that made you go, oh wow, this for me might have really tipped the scales of justice?
Yeah, the phone calls. The phone calls.
Rusty.
Yeah, with Rusty. There was a lot of conversation that I felt, there was a lot of opportunity. I felt like she could have denied it. She could have been more clear that it was appalling to her and that she had nothing to do with it. But to me personally, I felt like they just were getting their story straight carefully because they were aware that they were being recorded, so yeah.
Sure. Bethany, being on a jury like this, obviously you're instructed not to look at any social media, watch any media about it, all of that. So perhaps unbeknownst to all of you, maybe you've found out now that the verdict was in. I don't know if you looked at it, but there was a great debate going on for the duration of this trial. Tell me, what do you think? Let's start with, what do you think happened? Because there were debates about who was the perpetrator, debates about how the killing happened. What's your belief when it comes to how Gary Ferris was murdered and how he got on that burn pile?
I think that, first of all, I thought that it was odd that she left out the part where at least his phone traveled to a restaurant. So I think at some point while he was gone, the plan was decided to be executed. And then when he gets home, it happens. For me personally, it didn't matter whether or not it happened in the house or it happened in the yard. I didn't really care where it happened. I feel like the house showed evidence that something happened in the house. But I personally think that it's not difficult to imagine that she could have moved the body. When we got out to the site, it felt like it was a bit steeper than it looked in the pictures. I know my own personal strength. I know I'm a bigger lady than she is, but I don't have any mental reservations. If I had to move something, with everything available, I would have figured out a way to do it. Like, that was not a stretch for me at all, the movement of the body. And I've forgotten. That was, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I wanted to know. Yeah, did you think that the killing happened in the basement or outside?
I think it was shot in the basement.
Shot in the basement.
I think it was shot in the basement. My mental image of it is he made his way outside to some degree, and then he died, and she used equipment, or she just used gravity to get him down into that burn pile.
What about the track? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, that was another thing that was a huge problem for me, was the fact that if not her, then somebody else did it. If somebody else did it, how are you unaware? That was a huge thing. Being completely unaware of shots fired, a body that size being moved, a body that size continuing having, I believe the fire had to be tended to. Somebody had to tend to it. And I don't see that happening without her being aware of it.
Sure.
Especially since she's up on the phone till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Bethany, I want to play a clip for you of when you all were deadlocked on Monday, that moment where the judge made that announcement and everybody watching this trial, engaging in the great debates online was going, oh my goodness, they're going to go back in. Let's take a look.
We have a note that says that they are hung and do not feel like they will be able to come to a unanimous verdict. So my plan is just to bring them in and tell them that they're the best qualified jury that there is to hear this case, and to send them back out and tell them to continue deliberating.
Oh boy. Okay, did you expect the judge to tell you to go back in and keep deliberating?
Yes, we did. We knew he was going to tell us to go back in and deliberate. I feel like there was a couple of us, I don't think me so much, but there was a couple of other people that definitely had more reservations and concerns about convicting. And I don't know, I just felt like it mentally, emotionally, it was a lot for us. But we went on a lunch break, we took a breather, we came back, and we just got right back into it as if we had in the beginning, and just worked through just a couple more little things that, you know, a couple people had issues with, and then we all felt very solid about our decision.
What were those big issues that led to the deadlock?
I would say the lack of putting the gun in her hand, the lack of, you know, how did she get the body to there? The lack of evidence definitely caused doubt, but we overcame that with all the other evidence that was there.
Sure. Bethany, I want to talk to you about Scott Farris, because we know the defense squarely pointed the finger at him. I mean, literally, the defense attorney you saw pointed the finger at him in the closing argument and was saying that he was the one who killed his dad. Was the jury ever stuck on that idea?
Not for very long. That was one of the first things that we did, was rule out everybody else. We just looked at what they were saying about everybody else. And did we find that there was enough evidence to consider them as a reasonable doubt? And Scott was the last one. He took longer. But in the end, that was another thing, the CPAP machine. We don't think that if he would have been alive, you know, and killed overnight, he probably would have been attached to that CPAP machine. That's why there's just so many things that they're little things, they're not direct things, but logically you put them together and nothing else makes sense.
Did you feel that the state of Georgia presented a clear legal theory about how Gary Farris was killed, where he was killed, how he got onto the burn pile, and who did it? Did you feel like they made everything crystal clear for you as a jury when you went back to that room?
I feel like they made everything as crystal clear as they could. And there were actually big pieces of evidence that we didn't even really look at. We didn't, like the phone call mapping where it had like activity at different times and different, you know, when she'd call phone calls. We didn't really look at that much. I can't remember the other things. There was a couple of other things that we just didn't look at very closely. But I think what they did a very, very good job of is they just kept honing in on that same point. She's the only one there. The motive was helpful, but even the motive was not something that we spent a lot of time trying to decide what is the motive. It was the timeline. We started with a timeline, we ruled other people out, and we just tried to see, could we see it any other way? And we couldn't see it any other way. Until she did it.
Sure, and the state doesn't have to prove motive, as you know. It helps, sure, if it's there. What about the tractor? Did you believe she used that in any way to get Gary's body on the burn pile?
Yeah, I mean, some people did. I wouldn't say that she didn't, but I don't think that she would have needed to use the tractor to move the body.
Yeah. Did you find Melody Farris to be cold when you were watching her?
I mean, I guess I didn't really look at her much. My focus was always usually on like the witnesses or the prosecutor or the defense. There were a couple of times I looked over at her and I did see her crying. I think I saw a different array of emotions in her, but I definitely put a picture together of who I saw and who I was hearing on those phone calls and, you know, seeing on the text messages and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know if I would say that she was cold, but yeah, I don't know how to answer that.
Did you find it at all disrespectful that she didn't stand for the jury when you all would enter the courtroom and exit?
Well, and that was another thing. The lawyer had mentioned that, and I didn't even notice that she didn't stand for us. But I did watch stuff when I got home last night, and I did realize that that was a big issue for people, that she didn't stand. I mean, when you walk into that jury box, like me, I'm just focused on what chair am I going to sit in. I sit in that chair, and then I just start paying attention. I tried to not pay attention too much of the gallery and everything.
Sure. What a great juror you were, and your colleagues on the jury were. I mean, you all took this case very seriously.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't rush a verdict on a Friday for the weekend. You all did a fantastic job, and that's really what anyone can ask for. It's just to go through the evidence, take it seriously, uphold your oath. Would you do it again, Bethany?
If I had different circumstances in my life at the moment, I probably would. But yeah, it was. I'm going to probably take the rest of the week off to just relax.
Atta girl.
Debrief.
It's mentally grueling. It really is. Mentally and physically, too. You're sitting still. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Bethany, it was wonderful having you on Opening Statements. Thank you for coming
so
in
much.
this
I've had a
morning.
fun time this morning. It's been wonderful.